We are back here in Hessel, Michigan at the Cheneaux Islands, where it's everything wooden boat, and the perfect guy who knows all about Chris Crafts, one of the classic wooden boats that we see here at every show, and certainly on the lake an awful lot, is Dave DeHorn. And Dave, you're on the board of directors of the Chris Craft Club?
Chris Craft Antique Boat Club, yes I am.
So tell me first of all about Rumor.
Yeah, Rumor's a 1941 Chris Craft barrel back, which is kind of an iconic shape to the stern. It's a kind of a barrel stern shaped boat, and that's the feature boat of the show this year.
David, what era is this boat? When was this boat manufactured?
This boat was built in 1941. It's called a pre-World War II boat. And yeah, there's a lot of interesting features with boats that were built prior to World War II that they, after the war, stopped doing because it was too expensive and took too long to make and took too many materials. So they sort of changed the way they built boats after the war.
So the barrel back, it must be very popular. It wouldn't be featured here, or historic, or something. Why the barrel back this year?
The barrel. Well, each year they feature a different type of boat. This year just happens to be the barrel back. It's kind of an iconic design, and I love it. That's why I have one. It's just different than anything else that you see. So people like to see the barrel back.
Talk about Chris Craft's place in the wooden boat world.
Well, you know, Chris Craft as the company started in 1874. In 1922, they had a salesman who coined the term Chris Craft, and there happens to be a boat here at the show, which was the very first Chris Craft branded boat built in 1922 called Miss Algonac. It's here at the show. So Chris Craft brand is really celebrating their 100th anniversary this year, even though in 2 years the company itself will celebrate its 150th anniversary.
Is there any special connection between Chris Craft and Michigan?
Absolutely. Chris Craft was founded in Algonac, Michigan in 1874, and they built boats in Michigan up until I think the mid to late 70s in Holland. And that was, so absolutely, people here in Michigan, and in Murtaugh, which is right behind us, that was the very first Chris Craft dealer in the country. And so that was the very first dealer in the country.
Right here in Hessel, right over there.
Right there.
Well, that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
You know, you see one of these beautiful wooden Chris Crafts on one of our lakes, Burt Lake, Mullet Lake, Lake Charlevoix, the Grand Traverse Bay, downstate, and you just get a special feel. It's just part of Michigan summers in our history.
It is. It's great. You know, they're becoming more and more rare, and it's neat to be able to go out at where we boat in Muskegon. There are very few of these boats, and it's fun to go by, and people always, come out of their house and wave at you, and it puts a smile on people's faces, and that's what I really like about it.
So tell me about the story of Rumor and how you got your hands on Rumor.
Well, Rumor came from Lake Tahoe. It went out on a business trip, fell in love with the boat, hauled it back to Chicago, and then went through a long restoration process. Rumor is named because our ambassador to Japan back in the 40s, his name was Joseph Clark Grew. He was our ambassador to Japan. He was at a cocktail reception, and he overheard two Japanese admirals talking about possibly bombing Pearl Harbor. That was on January 27th, 1941. That was the day this boat shipped out of the Chris Craft plant. Happens to be also my dad's first birthday on January 27th, 1941. So that rumor was that the Japanese were planning an attack on Pearl Harbor. I have the copy of the telegram that was sent by Joseph Clark Grew back to the Secretary of Defense, and they kind of poo-pooed it and said, no, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. And 11 months later, we all know what happened. So kind of the first rumor of the possibility of us getting into the war.
These boats, they all have such an amazing history and story. I really like yours, and I also like the part of the story that involves family, because there's so many of these boats that have been in families for an awful long time, where there's some big time family connection, in large part often to a lost relative.
Well, when I bought the boat, it was in fairly rough shape, and I took my mom for a ride in it, and she loved it. She thought it was like a little British sports car, and unfortunately she passed away. And after that, my dad and I spent 6 years restoring the boat, and it was the best 6 years of my life. It was great. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
See, exactly what I'm talking about, David. Yeah. Unbelievable. Okay, let's get down to the brass tacks. Talk about the numbers. Engine, how fast, anything that people should know about it.
Well, it's it's interesting. This is an original engine. It's a Chris-Craft KB engine. It has triple carburetors. Back in the day, when they wanted to go faster, they just added more carburetors.
Okay.
And this boat was advertised to go 33 miles an hour back in the day in 1941, which was kind of a hot rod.
Right.
The standard engine, which was a single carburetor, went 29 or 30. So with 3 carburetors, you got an extra 3 or 4 miles an hour, which is, from today's standards, it's nothing.
And I see the DYC Burgee on the front. Talk about that.
Well, that's the oldest yacht club in America. And I grew up in Michigan, and sometimes we take the boat out of state, and my brother lives in Detroit, and so it was just kind of a neat added thing that I did just for fun.
It's a showpiece. It looks like it should be in a museum. It's in the water right now. Does it spend much time in the water?
We use it as much as we can, but it doesn't stay. Well, last night it stayed overnight in the water for the first time in a long time. But no, it doesn't spend too much time in the water.
Is it with the wooden boats? Do you have to be careful putting them in the water? Does the wood have to expand or anything like we hear on some wood boats?
Originally, yes. They had interesting. They have two, an inner bottom and an outer bottom, and between the two, they had a canvas material. Originally, when they were built, and that helped absorb some of the water and keep it from leaking. Today, some of the more modern building materials, there's a material called 5200, which is made by 3M. It's a rubber compound that we trowel on between the inner planking and the outer planking, and it really, for all intents and purposes, seals the boat, and this boat doesn't leak at all. It's like a fiberglass boat. It doesn't leak.
Well, we're keeping a lot of Chris-Crafts off the bottom of our lakes with that.
We want to try to do that.
Yeah. Want to save them all. If somebody, final question, because I know you want to get back to people, and we got all this music playing here. If somebody wants to get into this game, talk about the price of admission, not just financially, but it's a big commitment, isn't it, David?
It's a commitment, but it's a passion. It's people that are doing this, and you've interviewed them all day today, but there's a difference in who owns these boats versus who owns a fiberglass boat. It's a passion. They want to relive their past, or they want to relive, a boat that their parents had or their grandparents had, and it's just I love it. It's fun. I want to have one until the day I die.
Before I go, if someone's interested in learning more about the club, can you tell people, I'll put the notes on the bottom of the screen, what they can do.
The Chris-Craft Antique Boat Club was really formed as a club to promote the Chris-Craft brand. We publish a quarterly a magazine. It's a coffee table magazine called The Brass Bell. We have about 1,500 members, and we're growing, and would love to have more members. You don't have to be a Chris-Craft member or owner to be part of the club, and there's great stories, stories about people's, getting into the hobby, how they restored their boat, just really interesting people stories in the magazine, lots of really great pictures, we have a great board of directors who are extremely knowledgeable with the history of Chris-Craft, the history of these boats. If anyone has any questions on the boats, on any boat in particular, our technical staff, I'm kind of one of the technical guys, would be happy to help. They're always welcome to send us an email. Happy to give you the contact information.
Can we find you on the web?
Yeah, you can find us on the web. It's just Google Chris-Craft Antique Boat Club, CCABC. and love to help anyone out there that needs help with their Chris Craft or any boat in particular.
David, obviously you hate doing this, especially on a beautiful summer day like today.
Everybody said this is the best day for a boat show. It's not a great day for a boat show. It's just a great day.
It is an
amazing
day. It is a great day. Thank you very much for being with us, and we'll hopefully do this again sometime soon.
I'd love it. Thank you.
All right, we are going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We got more coming up. Having a lot of fun. Dave Scott here in Hessel, Michigan, at the Cheneaux Islands at the Wooden Boat Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.